Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk ETC. I have Anthony, or PyScale, with me today, and he's going to be giving us an update on the latest news involving Ethereum Classic. And well, first of all, welcome, Anthony, for joining me today.
Hey, Christian. Thanks for having me again.
Always a pleasure. So, but before we get into that news that he's researched for us, I wanted to give you some basic information about the Bitmain's Antminer E3 chips. You're seeing a lot of buzz in the news about that, and people are discussing how it's going to possibly affect ETC. So I just wanted to give you some of the basics about that. Now, before I launch into this, keep in mind that these units are not going to ship until July. So the information is scarce, but I can tell you what they claim the product is going to provide and what else is going on. So what we have is Bitmain, which is a company based in China, and they claim that in July you can buy these Antminer E3 chips for $800. And here's some numbers for you. They claim that they're going to be able to do 180 mega hashes a second using 800 watts of energy. Now, for comparison, the typical GPUs that miners use about 20 to 40, or excuse me, they provide 20 to 40 mega hashes per second, and they use about 100 to 200 watts of power. So if you compare those numbers, what you notice is that the Antminer is basically roughly like having 6 GPUs, which is kind of interesting. Now, it's not this holy grail that's going to eliminate or severely decrease the energy requirements. I don't know if you knew that, Anthony, but the energy requirements, not only does it provide the hash power of about 6 GPUs, but it also uses the energy of 6 GPUs. So if you're getting too excited about, saving money on energy, it's not going to apparently help you there. Now, what is exciting if you're a miner is the price that you have to pay for the equivalent hashing power. So again, it doesn't appear to save on energy requirements. It's just that the price you have to pay to set up your mining to be competitive with your friend is going to be cheaper. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's in line with what I've seen.
Right. And so, as I said, it's going to ship in July, and then people will be able to test and see if really it lives up to the hype. Now, there's some debate about what to do. Some people are saying that we should have a hard fork to discourage these devices. But then, as I said, the performance is not that dramatic. So then other people are saying, well, we can just live with it. And then other people are even saying that it would be censorship if we try to thwart these products when people want to create these. Just a little basic background for people that don't know. So ETC has what's called a proof of work algorithm, and you have to do a calculation in order to add a block. The miners have to do this calculation. And so when the Ethereum protocol was being developed, they saw that Bitcoin was dominated by what are called ASICs, application-specific integrated circuits, that were specifically designed to do their SHA hashing algorithm. And what the Ethereum guys did was they made one that had steep memory requirements. And my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but the logic is that, yes, you might be able to make a fast computer that does fast computations regarding mining, but if the memory requirements are so large, that's not going to make a dramatic improvement. And so that the idea was that would encourage more GPU mining. And so people don't know, did Ant miner? Did they create some faster memory system, or is it basically just a cheaper, version of 6 GPUs strung together? So people don't know the details because, again, it hasn't shipped. But it's the reason we haven't seen this sooner is because the ET hash, the algorithm that ETC uses, was intentionally made to thwart these kind of ASICs, and it has steep memory requirements, and that's why it's been so long in coming. But here we are, and somebody figured out a way to make these application-specific integrated circuits, apparently, that can help with Ethereum and Ethereum Classic mining. So we'll see what happens. Do you have any predictions, Anthony, on what you think how this is all going to play out?
Maybe not predictions, but I have a lot of thoughts on it because I've thought a lot about the ASIC miners. And I guess the first thing is that, one, we don't know what their impact is going to be. All we know are numbers that we've been told. So we don't know when they're shipped in June or July, whenever they're coming out, what their actual performance will be. It could be, it could be drastically better. It could be worse. We have no idea.
Yes.
So it's also very hard then to make any decision or create anything based on that because, one, you don't really know how they work. So really enforcing the ASIC resistance there is going to be tough, especially given the nature of ET hash. So some other algorithms like Monero's Kryptonite algorithm, for example, they pretty much know they can change it a little bit and it'll break the ASICs. And that has to do a lot with the details of how it works. But ET hash, the crux of it is that you just need a lot of memory and you need some GPU chips.
Right.
And you can do ASICs in order to make the computations faster. But we're still not sure exactly if they're going to be things where everything's very hard coded, or say the developers spend a bunch of time and then they flash a firmware update and they patch it. Like that could end up being a waste. And the other thing is, I don't personally think that ASICs are terrible like some people do. I think we're seeing the market move more towards more companies wanting to get involved with ASICs. So the problem really with ASICs isn't that they're inherently bad in and of themselves. It's just we need more manufacturers making them. The more manufacturers making them, the better availability, the more competition there is on price and all the other relevant factors, the better we're going to be in the long run. So I think overall there may be some growing pains with ASICs, but I think in general the market's going to move this way anyway. We've seen already where we have, AMD and NVIDIA GPUs come out and they completely squash last year's GPUs. And we don't get up in arms about that. In fact, Cody Burns, longtime member of the Ethereum Classic community and advisor to ETC Dev, has come up with a little proposal saying, hey, maybe we should just make it so that all GPUs can mine. So currently now, one of the requirements is that in order to mine on Ethereum or Ethereum Classic, you need a GPU with at least 4 gigabytes of RAM. And that was basically done as ASIC resistant. If we're no longer ASIC resistant, maybe we should go back to 1 gigabyte of RAM. I don't know for sure, but I think it's a very interesting proposal and maybe a better way to look at this thing. Rather than an issue, we can do something where we can increase the amount of hardware able to actually mine ETC.
Right. Yeah. That I thought that was a interesting proposal. That's right. So if ASICs are coming to town, then what Cody's proposal was to make it so that there's no benefit basically to using ASICs, or there's a lot, change the algorithm so that GPUs can still be competitive by decreasing the memory requirements. You also said something else that I thought was perceptive. So all of this talk about ASICs like they're the boogeymen, people can forget the forest for the trees, and you hit the nail on the head. It's not that ASICs are evil, it's that if there is an evil, it's having a small group of people, small group of miners that are controlling a huge amount of the mining power. And so if ASICs were widely available all over the world for affordable prices, then it really wouldn't matter if people were using GPUs or ASICs. So I thought that was an important point. It's the centralization that's the evil, not any specific technology like ASICs or whatever, anything else. So I thought that was a good point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if AMD or NVIDIA decided that they were going to start interfering with how miners operate or that type of stuff, then GPUs would become a problem too, and we would be having the same conversation like, how do we do CPU only mining?
Right. Like I could hypothetically imagine, let's say NVIDIA spending a huge amount of R&D budget to make some awesome GPU mining product, and then they could even maybe not sell it for a while, just run it in house, and then they would be then they would be dominating Ethereum and Ethereum Classic mining, and that would be the same thing as what people are concerned about with these ASIC miners. So
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yes.
And then before we leave, there's one other argument that I've been seeing on the anti-ASIC side, and it just doesn't really hold any water, and that is Monero is forking in order to stop ASICs.
Okay.
I 100% support Monero forking to stop ASICs, and the reason being that ASICs are game over for Kryptonite algorithms.
Okay.
So a couple $100,000 worth of miners, and you can basically spam the network with tons and tons of legitimate blocks, but force everybody onto their own chain and do all sorts of stuff, because Kryptonite is very highly, I would say, parallelizable. So it's particularly susceptible to ASICs in that it's very easy to make ASICs that control way, way, way too much hash, like orders of magnitude larger. Whereas what we're seeing on the ETC side, at least from the information we have, is that these are things that are, more of a step upgrade. It looks like, at least right now, future information we'll find out, but at least right now it looks like it's a stepwise upgrade. It doesn't look like it's this major boogeyman like it is on Monero and that type of thing.
Yeah, I see. So their algorithm was more susceptible, so that's why they were more motivated to fork. Whereas for ETC and ETH, the effect is not going to be as dramatic. You're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And this is something Monero's known for a long time too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Yeah. So why don't we get into? Let's hear the news. What's the latest you have to enlighten us with?
Well, I guess first I'll go over the news in general, like everything that's happened around everywhere, and then I'll go over some of the things that I've been more personally involved in.
Okay.
So I think we last talked on the 14th of March, and since then I'm gonna kind of go in order and give my comments on things. BitIt is a smallish exchange that added support for ETC. So there's fiat pairs to USD, Euro, the pound. Some other companies that did that were Abra and Circle have also added ETC support. I've personally bought ETC on Circle. It's really nice and easy. The only thing is they don't support ETC withdrawals yet. So
okay. Now wait a minute. Weren't you having trouble on the last show? You said in New York there was regulation issues, but did you just go to another state to buy it, or would you use some Tor or something, or do it? Maybe I shouldn't ask that on the show,
you should ask these things. No. They very recently got their bit license about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Circle finally got their bit license.
Okay.
So the other exchanges I mentioned, I actually haven't tried buying ETC on them yet.
Okay.
So I don't know what their status is, but yeah, for New York, it's still difficult. There's
you have to get the bit license. That's why it's difficult, because of the bit license, which is they have a regulation for these exchanges, and so that's what's causing the difficulty for New York. Is that
Yep, exactly. Okay. It's literally, there was one guy in New York who is very, very much responsible for the bit license, and he now works at Ripple, so good for him. I, of course, just really enjoy the difficulty that I have with purchasing cryptocurrency. But okay, moving on. The ETC cooperative, as you know, but I don't think I actually mentioned it on the last show. Both me and Christian Zhu have joined the ETC cooperative. So I'm working out of the US and he's working in China. We've got a lot of improvements that we're working on for ETC, most of which I'll cover towards the end of the show.
Okay.
And yeah, we're both really excited to be working on this in an official capacity, because it provides a lot more time to get things done. And our forums now reached, they're probably well over this now, but they reached 1,000 users last month.
Okay.
So that was great to see that, adoption really is happening, and forums take just a little bit more effort to subscribe to than, say, a subreddit or a Discord. So because on a lot of those, people already have existing accounts. So it's great to see that there's actual people, using ETC. As some people like to argue, there aren't.
And so there's people that are good Samaritans that are answering questions of beginners and others faithfully on those sites, on the forums, I assume.
Oh yeah, sure. I've been writing a bunch of guides too. There's a ton of guides on the forums right now for basically all the basic things you'd want to do on ETC, and there's a guide there for certain issues. So there's very common issues that everybody encounters with any Ethereum-based blockchain. So you can always go there and learn about them if you hit some issues.
Okay, good.
Then for ETC Dev, they just hired Darcy Reno, who's basically he's kind of, I don't remember what his official title is. He's kind of like a CTO. He's going to be in charge of all the tech stuff.
Okay.
And he's basically coordinating the entire team and making sure that, he's program manager at ETC Dev.
Okay.
He used to be a CTO in the film industry, but he's coordinating the entire team, getting everybody lined up, helping to find more talents, because ETC Dev is still hiring a lot of people, and getting everything moving. I've talked to him a few times. He's great, really friendly. He knows the business. He knows blockchain. He's been involved for a while, but now it's great to see him join in an official capacity, because I think he'll really be able to help out at ETC Dev.
Right. Yeah. When I think of an open source project, I think of a bunch of scruffy hackers, chatting over the internet, loosely coordinated. But now, if you're saying that ETC Dev is getting a program manager, that sounds pretty hardcore. Like they're, I got to eliminate that image from my mind now. They're getting more like a company almost.
Yeah. And ETC Dev has been this big for a while, but I think having the Darcy there as a program manager, especially with his maybe 20 somewhat years of experience, really solidifies that there is a lot of work going on at ETC Dev, and we're going to be seeing, a lot of advancement come out of them. I actually have an email on a potential new roadmap that I need to incorporate into the coming website and all that stuff. I haven't even looked at it yet, so I couldn't tell you anything from it. But yeah, lots of stuff happening.
Okay.
And so then ETC Dev, they've also released another iterative version of the Emerald wallet, which, it's a small improvement there. But I want to just clarify that this is the end user thing that people see. What you also see if you go to ETC Dev and you browse their GitHub is you see a lot of other projects geared towards developers, geared towards making their lives easier.
Right.
That few people outside of actual development are going to use, but are eventually going to have a lot of impact on the ETC blockchain.
Right.
And let's keep going.
Like Sputnik VM, of course, is great technology, right? A portable virtual machine, and it's but a user, a beginner, wouldn't necessarily know or necessarily care about Sputnik VM. So
no, not at all.
So if you're a software engineer wanting to impress people, it's really the user interface that you have to get perfect, right? Because they say, right, first impressions are important. And so you're saying the Emerald wallet, the fact that it's improving and has an awesome interface is a big deal for new people in joining the community. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the fact that I would say the bigger deal is a lot of the dev tools that they're making and Sputnik VM and that type of thing, because that's where you're going to see things and they'll just end up happening, and people will go, oh, this is great. Why did we never hear of this? Well, you could have browsed the GitHub over the past year and you could have seen that ETC dev was working on a lot of things.
Right.
So then moving on, there's another wallet, Guarda, that does a mobile wallet for ETC. They now have a web wallet, kind of like my Ether wallet, that has some ETC support. So that's always nice to see. We've got our community fund announced at the end of March. So there was about 16,000 ETC sitting in a donation account from very early on that, had largely gone unused. And now there's 7 of us, and we're basically in charge of making sure that it gets put towards projects that are going to benefit ETC. So if we have basically little funding proposals or that type of thing, we'll be posting them to the forums. If other people have things that they want to do that they think might benefit ETC, then they're free to also use the forums and make a proposal under ecosystem proposals. Just make sure you follow the guidelines if you have anything that you want to do in regards to ETC.
All right, sounds good. So we're well funded. Yeah. ETC Dev is well funded, and there's other funding. So there for other
ETC
proposals.
Dev is well funded. IOHK is well funded. Ethereum Commonwealth, I believe, is well funded. The community fund is well funded now. ETC
No shortage of money
is independently funded. Yeah, there's a lot of money flowing into ETC, and it's great to see that we're still here after nearly 2 years.
Right. So, all right. So what else you got?
The Ella-ism, which is another Ethereum-based blockchain, actually added support for ETC to their multi-geth client. That's always nice to see, some cooperation between different chains. Previously, Sorpus had added Sputnik support to Ella-ism. Or for
wait, so how do you say it and spell it? Ella-ism?
Yeah, ELLA-ism.
Okay, and it's another blockchain. It's a separate blockchain. And when you say that they added ETC support, what does that mean?
They added it to their multi-geth client. So they have a geth client or a Go Ethereum client that supports multiple Ethereum-based blockchains.
Oh, okay. So it's a client that's okay. I see. It doesn't just support one blockchain, but it's okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like parity. One thing you see with Go Ethereum is that every time somebody makes a different Ethereum blockchain, they make their own Go Ethereum, and then they also get added to parity. So,
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And let's see. You already covered. Bitmain started pre-orders for their ETC miners on the 3rd of this month. And
yeah. By the way, speaking of ordering, if any, just something to think about if anybody's rushing out to buy, or they want to buy one of these Antminer products. So these things get obsolete really fast, right?
Yeah.
And so in a year or two, somebody will probably come up with another ASIC product that's even better that'll make this one obsolete. But however, with GPUs, when GPU mining rigs become replaced, you can always sell them to gamers, right? But it's not clear with this Bitmain device, right? What are you going to do with it when it becomes obsolete? You can't really give it to gamers; they're not going to want it. So these, you might make money now in the short term, but that could be short lived. So that's just something to keep in mind. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
These things change really fast.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there might be there's probably some financial benefit to it, but yeah, we gotta wait and see for the miners whether or not they're worth it. The other thing is they sold out within an hour of being offered, so you can't get them now anyway.
Right.
Yeah, so that's basically everything that's happened in ETC news this past month, at least that what I've tracked. There's probably other things, but it's very hard to keep track of everything. Oh, did I mention ETC's going to, it was announced last month, I think on the 13th, but we're going to be publicly traded on the OTCQX market sometime later this year.
Okay, so, no, we haven't talked about that yet. I didn't know. Yeah, so go ahead and elaborate on that.
So what that basically means is that investors who want to buy ETC are going to be able to do it in through their regular investment accounts, their regular brokerage accounts. Right now on OTCQX, funny enough, the other cryptocurrency on there is Bitcoin, and that is the largest traded thing on OTCQX. So everybody trading on OTCQX seems to really want access to cryptocurrencies, and then later this year they'll get access to the second cryptocurrency that they can publicly trade, which is going to be Ethereum Classic.
Interesting. Wow.
Yep.
All right, good stuff. So is that all that was all the news you had for today?
That's all the news I have from the world of ETC, and then I have my news, which I just saved for the end.
Okay, yeah. So why don't we go ahead and jump into that section then?
Okay. So first, we've commissioned some improvements to our open source block explorer. So a while back, Elaine and Cody Burns and maybe a few other people, I'm sorry if I'm leaving anybody out, started programming an open source block explorer for Ethereum since none existed. And since then, we've run it on etherhub.io, but it's been not performing too well. It's been crashing. There were some rough edges that needed to be smoothed and fixed. And now ETC Cooperative has just funded these improvements. We've got a very talented developer who goes by back on the forums, or ethernode.io, he may also be known as. And he's basically making some improvements to the stability, to the performance of the website. And then we have another developer, Hackmod, who I guess came about around the same time, not part of the commissioning, but he's been making some improvements in the feature set of the Explorer and also in the visual appearance of it. So it's been going great. Right now on etherhub.io, you can see the in progress version, which is also already very stable and very well functioning. But we've definitely got more to come in the next couple of weeks for that.
Okay, so etherhub.io is the URL, the place to go to see this open source explorer.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
And then we have the summit coming up. It's going to be sometime in around the second week of September of this year. So that'll be the second ETC summit. Location and a lot of other details are to be determined and announced.
Okay.
But it's something we're working hard on at ETC Cooperative, and hopefully I'll have more information in the coming weeks for everybody. So everybody can start making sure they're available.
Okay. Yep. All right.
And let's see. We've also been making some contributions to Andreas's book on Ethereum. Is there's some noise in the background? Oh, there it goes. Okay. And that's basically because Andreas is writing this great book on Ethereum. It's very detailed. It's got a lot of information on the blockchain and how to get started, how to program contracts, how to understand how the EVM works and all this great stuff, but there wasn't much representation of other Ethereum-based blockchains in it.
Okay.
And now we've got a lot more information added over the past week or two. So that's been going great, and I'm really looking forward to buying a copy of his book once it comes out.
Okay, very good.
Or maybe selfishly asking him for an autograph copy. I don't know if he does that.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. He's been involved in cryptocurrencies for a long time, so I'm sure his book will be excellent.
Oh yeah, it will be.
Yeah,
I'm sure of it. I've actually read a good deal of it so far in its rough state. And then lastly, I'm going to be myself attending some conferences coming in May.
Okay.
So I'll be attending Consensus in mid-May, which I believe is the 14th through the 16th.
Okay.
So hopefully I'll be able to see some people there, and very, very new, still working out the details, need to book a flight, but I'm actually going to be going to Ethereum's conference EdCon in Toronto.
Okay.
So I will maybe be one of the only ETC representatives there, but I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of people there. I won't be speaking at this particular conference, but I will be meeting everybody and just, talking about ETC, helping get just a little more representation for us, because I think there's definitely some opportunities for more collaboration and more working across chains, at least in my view.
Yeah, no, it's good. That's a good thing. So, all right, great. So, before we close, any other comments we forgot? Anything we forgot to mention?
Let's see. Oh, actually, yes. ETC in China is also being revamped a lot. As I mentioned earlier, Christian Zhu, who I hope I'm not butchering his last name, has joined us, and he's been working on a new website geared towards the Chinese market, so that right now a lot of information on ETC is all in English. So it'll be great to see that. He's revamping that. He's getting more of the ETC community in China set up. He's setting up chat rooms, forums, all that fun stuff, so that we're better represented over there, and that anybody in China who's interested in ETC will now have a place to learn about and talk about ETC more.
All right, sounds good.
And same for South Korea as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, thank you as always. It's always enlightening to hear the news, the updates. So thanks always, and we'll do this again next month.
Yeah, next month. Thanks for having me, Christian.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.